I don't know if I look really tired right now, but like to give you a little bit of a backstory of how's my day been. I'm filming this on a Friday morning. No, actually I'm filming this on a Saturday morning right now. And yesterday was a day in school. I started school at 10 a.m. I ended class at 3 p.m. After class ended, I still did my own schoolwork because I had some project deadlines to meet. So I took breaks in between. I had my dinner, I had my lunch, I played a few games like for an hour or so. But basically, ever since 3 p.m., I did all of my schoolwork. I sat down in front of my computer all the way till it's 5 a.m. right now. I've been basically studying from 10 a.m. to 5 a.m. But honestly speaking, that's for me to talk about someday, about my life, about maybe, give you guys a little bit of a cool life video. But this isn't about me, this is about the Selector pack. So in any case, this is the part 2 of the Selector pack video. It's very, very long, and there's a reason why it's this long. This part of the video is where I talk about which operators do I think you should be getting. So the way that I decided to rank the operators is using a sorter. If you watch part 1 of my video, that one's talking about whether it's worth to get the pack or not, and this part 2 is who you should get. So the sorter thing was a very interesting, fun time where I compared 2 operators side by side each time, and because I keep comparing between operators, it took such a long time to actually complete the sorter that even after editing the video ended up being 1 hour long. So I hope you guys don't mind. It's a bit of a viewing experience. It feels like you guys are watching a special stream, If you're someone who's an avid watcher of mine who's been always watching my Twitch live stream, then this feels like a special live stream that you get, additional 1 hour, 20 minutes off stream. So that's that. There's some points about the Selector pack that I like to make before I bring you guys through the sorter video clips. So the first thing of all is people are asking when does the sorter pack expires. I saw that there's an expiry date that's tagged to it. Actually, I tell you what, let me get the expiry date myself as well. Yep, so over here I'm in the pack list. I am actually intending to buy the Selector pack for myself, so let me just do the purchase for you guys. Right in front of you guys. Don't worry, I won't show you guys any of my details. This is only for me and my eyes to see. Yep, alright, so I've gotten the Selector pack. This is wonderful stuff. So it comes with the 10 times hit hunting and also the ticket. Let me go to the details of the ticket so that I can show it to you guys. So yes, there's an expiry date. It's the same expiry date for everyone. It ends on the 18th of December. So this is gonna last as long as like 3 events, which is very likely that TOW rerun will happen during this point in time, and at the same time there's probably going to be preluding lights as well. So if let's say you've been wanting to get like a suzerain, I don't know if you want to open this pack now and actually try to draw for a suzerain when a TOW event is coming soon. I would rather that you actually use this towards the very, very end. Like do not go about like choosing the 6-star that you want right now. You can just take a look, don't click on anything. I mean, if you click on something, it's kind of still fine, but like if you click on it, they'll just tell you whether you want to confirm and select them or not. Like if I click on Let Me Shine, then it'll ask you consume 1 top operator permit, confirm or cancel. So yeah, I'm just going to cancel it. Yeah, but these are all the 6 stars you can get. There's a lot of 6 stars. I'm going to cover all about them in today's video. So those are like the information for you to know. Again, only open this pack after like towards the near end of the expiry, so that you don't have that situation where you get spooked by a 6-star that you won by accident. For instance, maybe you want a Surtur and then you pull on the Calcit banner and Surtur suddenly appears. Like that will be a bit of a pain situation. So try to open your packs towards the end. If not, I think that's all that I have to say. It's already very late in the night, or if not, it's almost sunrise where I live, so I'm gonna go to bed right after this. So I'm gonna say good night to you guys. You guys are gonna see the previous few days me taking over the video now. Bye-bye. Now what this sorter is now allowing me to do is to put 2 operators side by side and make my own comparisons between the 2 to at least give you a gauge of what I feel may be a better choice to pick over the other. So I think this is going to be a pretty interesting video that you guys are able to watch along with me. Hopefully you guys will like watching this, and if not, without further ado, I think it's time to get sorting. Alright, let me press start and let's get sorting. Okay, who's the first 2 operators? Oh, okay. So the first 2 that I'm comparing is apparently Chen and Weedy. Now Chen's a very early 6-star that appeared in the game. She's got a very popular skill 2 because it's a heli drop skill 2. once you have a Mastery 3 Chen, it allows you to basically just go kaboom, drop her down, deploy her, and immediately use her skill 2. It's very good against, say, like a mid-tier enemy. For a heavier enemy, I mean, it's probably gonna be much harder, but she's still gonna do quite a bit of damage for the fact that it's both physical and arts. Weedy, on the other hand, I gotta mention also for Chen that skill 3 is also a very, very strong skill. If you know how to time it well, you know how to use it, it does quite a lot of big physical slashes. And there's a lot of people who have tried to create runs of Chen using her skill tree and wiping out the boss alone, together with buffers and debuffers of course, to make her look good. Weedy, on the other hand, has a very, very good skill 2. Very popular skill 2 in fact, especially for CC purposes. She's able to push small mobs continuously away, keeping that distance between her and people of say weight 1 or weight 0. And her skill 3 has the very nice true damage skill as well. You push people away and the amount of distance that you walk will decrease in their health, which is very, very nice. Even skill 1 was used in the recent CC Let's Seal because it was a very nice way to stall the golems, just because there was a perfect timing if you have her skill 1 at Mastery 1. So if I were to compare between these two, however, I gotta say that in terms of the amount of times that I see Chen being used nowadays compared to the past, sadly there isn't a lot of people who use Chen here on, unless you really, really like Chen. But if not, the viability here is that Chen is very, very good as a dual strike guard, right? She's able to wipe down smaller mobs, she's able to clean up the people with her skill 2, but it takes quite a while to charge a skill 2 and skill 3. It takes 20 SP for skill 2, it takes about slightly over 30 SP for skill 3. Whereas Weedy has a nice infinite skill 2 that does a lot of damage, and a skill 3 that charges for say 33 SP, I think it's 33 SP, but it can burst away quite a lot of people. So in terms of the usage that I see nowadays, I'm going to say that Weedy is probably a better pick than Chen. So let's do that. Now next one, Kyobi and Skadi. So Kyobi is a single target arts damage dealer, and Skadi is a duelist guard, or if not, she's basically a single block, single striking guard. Speaking of Skadi here first, Skadi has a very, very high attack in the game, and if not, she has one of the highest attack in the game. But the trouble with Skadi is that her high attack does not pair together with things like debuff. She doesn't down the defense of their enemies, and it's different from someone say Schwartz, who does a high damage but at least debuffs them for 20% defense. So there comes this trouble where Skadi may not exactly excel if, let's say, the enemy has too high of a defense. You will need to pair her together with a debuffer to make her work. Her skill 2 is very nice as a heli drop thing. A heli drop meaning to say you deploy her anywhere on the map, you drop her down, her skill turns on, she starts golf clubbing the enemy away. And skill 3 is the very nice sweet HP buff and attack buff and defense buff that makes her better to hold her ground, to hold her fort. But as compared to Kyobi, Kyobi is an arts damage dealer. Her skill 2 is the bread and butter, where it allows her to increase her ASPD massively, and she'll start striking down the enemies as fast and as much as she can. When I compare these two single target allies side by side, even though Kyobi's prime is on the skill 2, Skadi is on the skill 2, and maybe even the skill 3, I must not discount Kyobi's skill 3 by the way. Kyobi has a nice skill 3 that allows you to silence the enemies, especially if they have the lowest defense, and her skill 1 allows you to bind the enemies, although it's quite a long SP time of charging to actually make Kyobi work. So when I put these two side by side, in terms of where they stand in the game right now, Kyobi helps a lot more, since arts damage and physical damage does a little bit of a different thing. Physical damage is a additive and subtractive thing. Attack minus defense, that's the amount of damage that you deal. But for arts damage, it's a percentage thing. If let's say an enemy has 50% resistance, then your arts damage will deal 50% attack onto them. If let's say the enemy has 20% resistance, then your arts dealers will deal 80% onto them. So it becomes this thing where arts damage dealers tend to perform a lot better later on. It doesn't mean that arts equal win, because sometimes there are enemies that have way too high of a resistance and you shouldn't be using arts damage dealers. But if not, really looking through all the events, looking through all of the stories that's within the game, I gotta say that Kyobi is probably in a much better position than Skadi. Skadi, on the other hand, I mean, we're gonna receive Scouter soon. So your ability to use Skadi in the game is gonna be less if let's say you have a Scouter. You cannot have Scouter and Skadi in the same map. So then it becomes this trouble of, if you own Skadi now, will you be using her all that much? So I would really have to suggest that Kyuubi is probably a better choice here. So I've chosen her. Now Silver Ash and Bagpipe. Silver Ash, of course, the prime skill that most people know of is the skill tree, swing and everything disappears kind of skill, right? That skill is often mistaken to be true damage, especially by new players, because it has the word true silver slash there, but it's not true damage, it's physical damage, but it's very, very high, and it sweeps away many enemies. You can kind of think as him doing a duelist guard damage, but instead of hitting one person, he's able to sweep away 7 people, which makes it a very insane skill to use, especially with the wide range. Whereas on the other hand, we're putting him beside Bagpipe. Bagpipe has a very nice skill too that allows you to do charge attacks onto the enemies. Every time there's like a 5 SP charge going on, then she'll do a strike, and she has a nice talent that allows her to increase her damage. Her skill tree is the part that I really love about her, which increases her defense, increases the amount of block count. It allows her to raise her attack up to very high, to the point where she doesn't look like a vanguard. She looks like a guard instead. Very high damage dealing for a vanguard. But despite putting the two of them side by side, to be honest, Silver Ash is gonna do way much than Bagpipe. Think of it as Silver Ash having what looks like 5 times to 7 times of Bagpipe's damage, simply because he can strike multiple enemies at once. That makes him a lot more impactful for people's account. But that doesn't go to say that Bagpipe is bad or Bagpipe is not as worthy. Bagpipe is still a very strong 6-star, but when put together with Silver Ash, we gotta say that Silver Ash does a lot more than Bagpipe. So I'm gonna have to choose him. Ooh, Ifrit and Phantom. Now, Ifrit and Phantom is a feisty one. So Ifrit has a wonderful talent that allows her to debuff, right? It allows her to drop the enemy's resistance by a certain percentage. So it's not like Selector where she ignores 20 resistance. If an enemy has 90 res, drops to 20 res, that kind of thing. In Ifrit's case, if she's put up against a 90 res enemy, she's able to cut them down by 40% of their resistance. They're going to drop all the way down to, say, 50 plus resistance left, and it's a very nice big debuff, which makes Ifrit an enjoyable operator to use once you pair her talent together with her actual skills. Her skill 2 is that charge floor is lava kind of skill. She strikes the fire on the ground. Everyone in her straight line range will get burnt and receive quite a big amount of damage. At the same time, they'll also get defense debuff. If you have her at rank 7, it's minus 200. You have her at M3, it's minus 300, which helps a lot of your physical dealing operators. Whereas her skill 3 is a full-on arts damage. She loses health as the skill goes on, although not her entire health will be depleted, only 40%. And that amount of burning power is able to kill a lot of mid-tier enemies, and for the higher end ones, they can lose quite a lot of HP from her skill, since there's the resistance debuff and the fact that that burning is just a lot of damage. So very fun kit that Ifrit has. Whereas for Phantom, Phantom is a fast redeploy, and the beauty of this fast redeploy is that he's a 2-in-1. You can deploy him and his clone. His skill 2 is the most used skill that you'll go for, which allows him to have a very high attack when you deploy him, and each time that he attacks, his overall attack will drop all the way down until it reaches his base attack. The amount of attack that he gains at rank 7 is already very big for you to use, and it's very fun to watch him just deploy anywhere and help you to wipe away the mobs that are just standing still, not wanting to move. He's able to take down even people of like quite a decent defense. So Phantom is what I call a super fun operator to use, and actually can be very helpful for new accounts as well if you practice the art of fast redeploy. Now, it comes down to this problem of, am I able to judge who is better than the other? It's not easy. One has a very high arts damage and the other one has a very high physical damage. Ifrit has difficulty points for her to be used as well, whereby she only has a straight line range. Phantom is someone that you can deploy anywhere. But that means you need to practice the skill of redeploying someone, deploying someone, retreat and drop, that kind of thing. So this is quite... For the fact that the two of them has such unique skills and they play so different roles from each other, I honestly have to say that it's not easy for me to choose one over the other at this point. I'm gonna have to put that the amount of usefulness that I feel they can add to people's account is actually about the same. I don't think one does better than the other. You could actually receive a lot of help from owning an Ifrit because you really need arts damage in your account, or you could do better owning a Phantom because you have a lot of arts damage, and having someone like Phantom with the versatility of being deployed anywhere is already going to help you. They both have the same demerits, you see. Both of them also have very high DP costs. Ifrit with 33 DP to deploy, Phantom gets more expensive the more you redeploy him. So really, I don't think I can compare these two. I'm going to have to say that I like them both. Okay, next one. we've got Nightingale and Ark. Well, Nightingale and Ark is a interesting pairing, isn't it? Because they aren't exactly like operators that you totally need within your account right now. It's nice to have an AoE medic, but if you have a Telopsis build or Perfumer build, it's not, say, a must to own a Nightingale. Why do I say it that way is that Nightingale is a 6-star AoE medic that her primary purpose is to increase the resistance of your operators. By increasing resistance, it means that they can tolerate arts damage better. But the problem is that this kind of like increase in resistance is more of a late game thing, and you don't really need it, especially if you just start out in the game. Some people may tell me things like, oh, but Cookie, you really need Nightingale for Chapter 8, you need it for JT83, you need it for H84. But you don't. Like, I've already made videos of how I cleared JT83 without Nightingale. I've made a video about how I cleared H84 without Nightingale, even though it was a little bit painful, but yeah, I did it without Nightingale, and it shows that it's perfectly possible. I've even thought of a strategy as to how you can clear the entire of Chapter 8 without Nightingale, and that was, my purpose of that was to defeat that opinion that you need Nightingale. No doubt, Nightingale makes Chapter 8 easier, but it doesn't mean that it's a must. You don't need to own a Nightingale to make the Chapter 8 playable. And Nightingale is basically what I would call like an endgame operator. It's not an operator that you must focus on until later on. But if you build her early, it also helps. If let's say you know how to use the resistance improvement to your advantage, then Nightingale can really assist your account. But if not, the priority there is really not that high. The other operator on the other side is also not very high of a priority, which is Ark. Ark is a buffer, and he's got a skill 2 and skill 3 buffing, one that either increases defense, the other one increases attack, and ASPD. The trouble of that is that in order to buff someone, he needs to hurt the person before buffing them. So before the buff is applied, he will shoot at the person 15 times for 500 physical damage. And if your ally has a very low defense, they're just gonna get wiped off by Ark, and they'll be deleted. That's why there's always all these funny videos of Ark shooting someone. But if your operators have a decent defense, like the guard or defender, or the someone that's being buffed by Shining for instance, then they can actually survive Arc shot and be buffed by him. But that becomes a thing where there's no point owning a buffer until you have people who can be buffed in the game. So with that being said, now the priority of Arc becomes a little bit on the lower side. You don't really need to own him early on. I'd rather that you build up a very strong squad first, and then you build Ark later on. Like, now that I'm level 112 in the game, I think it was only less than a month ago that I built my Ark recently, and I Mastery 3 him. He's a lot of fun to play, for sure, but it's not something that I'll go around recommending to people. You need to know how he works, you need to know why he works, and then you should own him. Meaning to say the difficulty of picking him up is higher than the other operators. And because of that, if I think about the ease of use, I gotta say that Nightingale is probably gonna be a better choice than Ark. But of course, again, it becomes this whole thing where you don't really need a 6-star medic and you don't really need a buffer. But yeah, I'm gonna have to choose Nightingale over Ark here. So that's that. So let's choose Nightingale. Okay, Aefiela and Shining. Now, this comes down to the same argument of a medic versus someone who does damage. Shining is a medic that does defense buffing. Shining compared to Nightingale, Nightingale buffs resistance, Shining buffs defense. So it's very cool to be able to up the defense of your operators for sure, but this kind of thing is not something you need to care about early in the game. You just need to care about it later on. Maybe if you're doing CC or you're trying to defeat a stage, and you feel that beefing up your operator's defense is important for your clear, then you should own the Shining. But there's no point buffing everyone's defense and you can't kill anything. It's better to consider that if you can kill the thing as soon as possible, then you don't really need all that healing. But you can go about on a crazy healing strategy, but end up with even with all the crazy healing, you can't kill anyone. So that becomes that weaker point of Shining here. Of course, she's a strong 6-star, but not a 6-star that I would prioritize on compared to the others. Now, compared to Aefiela on the other side, Aefiela is an arts caster, and she's a pseudo AoE caster. The reason why I say that is that her skill 2, which is called Ignition, it releases a fireball that strikes down on one enemy, and the other enemies around the areas will all receive half damage. At the same time, they'll also get resistance debuff. It's the same as Ifrit as to how her talent allows her to do the debuff. For Aya, it's not her talent, it's within her skills, which honestly is very sweet. It helps a lot of people early on, and you don't need to Elite 2 Aya to enjoy skill 2, you see. Just Elite 1 her at rank 7, skill 2 is already very powerful. So that's like that big bonus that AF Yella has there already. And on top of that, she has a wonderful skill tree that is called Volcano. Volcano is this scary multi-target skill that allows her to spill out all of this lava, and everyone within this large range around her will receive arts damage, and there's a very high ASPD to it. It's a very good boss killing skill and also mob clearing skill. So when we compare the two kits together, between AF Yella and Shining, I think it's unfair. I'm sorry to Shining, it's unfair that her opponent is like this, but we all kind of have to agree that AF Yella is a better pick than Shining here. So let's choose AF Yella in this case. Alright, Rosa and Blemishine. Now, Rosa and Blemishine are not exactly operators that people will crowd as like the craziest operators to own. They both have very, very unique kits. Rosa is a heavyweight sniper. She prioritizes the heaviest enemies within her range, and at the same time, she has one of the wonkiest range that's within the game. She doesn't attack anyone that's around her. She likes attacking people that are far away from her. The sound of it is like an artillery gunner, right? If you think of an artillery cannon, it shoots from far. It cannot shoot anything in front. It can only shoot things that are far away from it. So that's basically what Rosa is. She has a wonderful skill too that ups her amount of attack by a lot and allows her to attack 2 people. Whereas for her skill tree, it's a harpooning skill that allows her to grab onto 4 people when it's at mastery tree, and then it'll bind them in place and then deal damage per second, which makes it really, really fun to use Rosa. She is one of my favorite operators in terms of like level of fun, how I can create very unique strategies together with her. But that's that for Rosa. Blemishine on the other hand is a healing defender, or if not you can consider it like a DPS defender hybrid. She has one of the highest healing per second in the game. I believe it's on her skill 2, or is it on the skill 3? I cannot remember if it's skill 2 or 3. Please recap for me. It's one of the skills. One of the skills has the highest healing per second in the game. And it does make her already in a busted position, but there is some things that you must get used to in her skills. Her skill 2 puts people to sleep while allowing her to heal her or someone else within range. It's a defensive recovery skill, and basically by putting people to sleep, she will increase her attack onto people who are sleeping, and then she'll just grind them down with a sword. It's a very fun skill, very addictive, and her skill tree is a very fun and unique skill that allows her to up her defense, up her attack, and deal additional damage as arts damage. And now that I think about it, the skill tree is the one that offers the highest healing per second, because it's 100% of her attack that is being healed onto another ally, which makes it insanely powerful. Skill tree doesn't put people to sleep, but with the increased defense, she can hold her lane, and then she can grind down people with both physical and arts damage, which is insane. Very, very strong of a skill. In this case, when I put the two of them side by side, I gotta put it on their talents as well. Rosa has a thing where she's able to ignore the defense of the enemies, so that allows her to deal more damage, which is very sweet. Blemishine is able to give people with defensive recovery the ability to gain SP each time that they hit someone, which makes it very, very fun to use. Blemishine's ability to give so much support to not just herself but to other people makes it a much easier operator to learn and pick up as compared to Rosa, where you gotta get used to her range and get used to the fact that she prioritizes on heaviest enemies. If you don't learn Rosa's kit well, you may enter a situation where you will see Rosa maybe attacking someone, and then afterwards the next person comes in her range, she's almost killing the first guy, but she starts targeting the second guy because the second guy is a heavier weight. And then you'll just be there like, what? Rosa, why are you not attacking the correct person? That kind of thing. Because she doesn't prioritize who's closest to the blue box. She prioritizes by weight. So I'm gonna have to put that Blemishine takes the win here, since she's much more simpler for people to actually get used to. So let's choose Blemishine in this case. Alright, the next two operators that are in line is Angelina and Eunectus. Now, Angelina and Eunectus are both unique in a way where they have their own demerits that makes it a little harder to use them. Let me explain one by one. Angelina is a slower supporter. She's got a skill 1 that allows her to still attack, but her skill 2 and skill 3 will create a situation where she doesn't attack when the skill is off. So it's like as if she's charging a skill, and then once her skill is ready, you turn it on, then things will happen. Skill 2 is one of the nicest slowing skill in the game, but it doesn't slow everyone. It's only best when you're slowing one particular person. You turn on the skill, if you have it at M3, it's gonna kind of glue the person to that tile, right? If you see things like CC2 where Angelina was popular, it's able to keep the Avenger there all by himself, and then only when the skill ends and the Avenger starts walking again. It's honestly a great skill to use for Angelina. Angelina also has a skill tree that is an AoE powerhouse, or if not a multi-target powerhouse. You turn on the skill, she's able to spear out and hit 5 enemies with very high arts damage, which slows them every time she hits them, and also deals a big amount of damage. She does help a lot of new accounts. When AK first started, she was an operator that people didn't really care about, but afterwards when people got to understand how the skill tree works and see a little bit of her use in CC, then people started to take appreciation and realize that Angelina is actually very strong of a 6-star. Eunectus on the other hand, her bread and butter would be technically on the skill tree, which allows her to turn into the Mecha Gundam, and then afterwards, by being the Mecha Gundam, she's able to grind down the people. She's only going to be attacking one person. She doesn't turn into an AoE powerhouse kind of thing, but she will grind down the people with a very high attack. She's able to sustain herself because she is able to heal herself, and she has a very high defense in that skill as well. One of the highest defense, one of the highest attack in the game. But Eunectus has a little bit of wonkiness. Number one, when her skill is not turned on, especially for skill 3. No, actually it's across all the skills. For all the skills when the skill is not turned on, she only blocks one person. And only for skill 3 will she increase her block count to 3, which makes it a little odd. As she has a defender role, but she can only block 1, when you normally know that defenders can block 3. That's kind of the trouble there. She's probably what I'm going to call as a duelist defender, meaning a defender that can only attack one person at a time. There's a benefit and a disadvantage to it. The benefit is that you're able to choose whichever person that you want for Eunectus to tank for you. But on the other hand, it may go against the traditional understanding of defenders, so I fear that new players and even mid-game players may find it a little bit difficult to get used to. The other problem that Eunectus has is that she gains SP only when she's blocking someone. So if she's not blocking anyone, then she will not gain SP, meaning to say you can think of her as a defensive recovery person, across all of her skills that is. She is honestly one of the strongest 6-stars in the game, but the difficulty or the learning curve for her is quite steep. To the point that I would not often recommend people to actually go about using her until they're confident to pick up those new wonderful skills that Eunectus have to offer. Even her skill 2 is great, by the way. I didn't mention her skill 2. Her skill 2 has this ability where every person who gets hit by her will get stunned, and she's also able to increase her own attack. It's kind of a nice fast charging skill if, let's say, she didn't have that defensive recovery trait, you know. If she can gain her skill anytime, that would be great, but no, she has to block someone in order to charge skill 2. So there's that. That's the trouble I have with Eunectus. And then the trouble that I have with Angelina is the fact that she doesn't attack when her skill is not on. It's not gonna be a bad thing. You're trading off high power for the ability to not attack. So now if I compare between the two, and I have to look at which is probably gonna help people's account more, I'm gonna have to put that, to me, Angelina is both an easier pick and also someone that is gonna do quite a big amount of damage to people. If you're confident to pick up Eunectus kit, I will tell you to pick Eunectus. But if you're not, you're like, this might be a difficult one for me to use, then don't choose Eunectus unless, again, you want it or she's your waifu, then do that. Then if not, yes, I would say to choose Angelina instead. Alright, next one in play is Schwartz and Helliger. Now, Schwartz and Helliger both appeared during Obsidian Festival, and they were both very iconic people over there. Schwartz had a very nice high attacking power skill tree. Helliger was featured in Obsidian Festival where he was a very good killer against Pompeii. Now, let me start off with Schwartz's kit first. Schwartz has a very nice skill too, which allows her to basically shoot down the people within her range with a very high attack. And for her skill tree, she's able to turn into a single line range and deal a massive amount of attack onto one particular target. And depending on where the target is, she can shoot possibly very far. She has a nice talent that couples with her, which is the fact that there's a percentage chance for her to increase her attack, and at the same time, also a chance for her to debuff the enemy to down their defense by 20%. That kind of pairing together with her skill is really, really great. Her skills across skill 1, 2, 3 increases the percentage chance of her talent triggering. And I think skill 3 has the highest increase in percentage chance, where it's a confirmation. The talent chance is improved all the way to 100%, so she will definitely have an increase in attack, and she will definitely be debuffing the enemies that she's attacking, which makes it really, really sweet. Now, if you compare Schwartz with Helliger, Helliger is an interesting operator himself. He's an enmity guard, whereby he cannot be healed by other operators, but only healed by himself. He can be healed by other operators if they were giving passive healing, or basically regeneration healing. So people like Perfumer, Sora, Scouter, they can still heal Helliger, but other traditional medics like single target ones and AoE ones or healing defenders, they cannot heal Helliger. So it becomes a thing where Helliger is a guard that fends for himself. But then again, to have a low health amount is where Helliger is supposed to thrive in. As an NMT guard, the lower his health is, the higher his attack speed is going to be. Whenever he attacks someone, he will heal himself, and when he's not attacking someone, he will also heal himself. So this becomes a thing where if his health drops low enough, against an enemy with say a mid-tier defense and a mid-tier attack, he's able to hold them there, grind them down as fast as possible with his ASPD, and when you use Helliger, what you're supposed to do is that his health needs to stay low, and when the enemies attack him, he's gonna increase his health when attacking the enemy. Enemy attacks him, his health goes down again, his health gains up, his health goes down again, and it repeats the process. So he's always maintaining this like 30 to 70% HP kind of state, which of course is going to be a little bit of a panic attack to see him that way, but his skills are meant to be the thing that helps him out. So skill 2 allows him to have an increased dodge chance and also allows him to have an increased attack. It's a very fun skill to use. Basically, with an increased dodge chance, he's able to ensure that he dodges some of the critical hits or if not, some of the big hits of the enemies so that his health is always staying low, but it will never drop too low to the point that he is killed. Skill 2 is supposedly his more bread and butter skill, not to be mistaken with his skill tree, whereby for skill 3, it's a slashing down skill. It's like a mini Silver Ash looking skill. That's how I felt when I first saw him, but he's not mini Silver Ash. Mini Silver Ash will be Tequila, which is a 5-star that's released in the future. It kind of looks like it. It's a very cool strike down attack that helps him to hit 3 targets. His range is increased, he's able to hit 3 tiles in front of him, and he does a decently high attack. Not crazy high, but decently high. So both skills are fun to use, but I will say that there is difficulty in using Helliger, simply because he is an MBT guard. So it's gonna take a while for a new player to pick up on his kit and understand how he's supposed to be used. In order to make him work the best, you need to pierce his health down, keep it in a balancing scale so that his ASPD is buffed up and that he can kill the enemies as fast as possible. I will put that because of ease of use and the fact that one has a bigger boss killing ability than the other, since she's got debuff, she's got a very high attack increase, she is one of the operators with a very high DPS within the game. So this choice will have to go with a Schwartz. Alright, now Hoshiguma and Mostima. These two are feisty picks. So the one on the left is a defender, the one on the right is a AoE caster. Hoshiguma is a very tanky defender herself. She has a skill 2 that allows her to increase the defense, and if let's say enemies attack her, she's gonna deal damage onto them by a percentage of her own defense. Her skill 3 allows her to turn into an AoE grinder, where there's no limit as to the number of people she attacks within her tile or the tile in front of her. She starts feeding her own shield or what looks like a fan, and then people receive quite a high amount of AoE attack. It's about similar to say Blaze skill 2 level of attack, and it's a time skill, it's not an infinite duration skill. It helps in a way where if let's say you want to increase in defense, you want to increase in attack so that she starts tearing away the enemies, she's done blocking, you want to remove them ASAP, the skill tree can be a very fun and nice one to use. Mostima is an AoE caster, where skill 2 allows her to stun the enemies. Her skill 2 however has quite a long charge time. If I'm not wrong, if you have an M3 it's like 50 SP or 55 SP, but it's supposed to be managed because of the fact that she has a good talent. Her talent allows her caster buddies to have an increase in SP recovery per second, so they'll get plus 0.4 SP per second. This helps to really beef up people like Ifrit and Aelfiela to go on with their skills even faster. But that's only with the case that you're going to bring many casters in the stage in the first place. But still, on her own advantage, it kind of makes her 50 SP skill drop all the way down to about 37 SP, 38 SP, so it looks a little bit faster charging in a sense. Or did I calculate it correctly? Is it 30 SP instead? I think it's somewhere between 30 to 35 SP, my bad. I cannot calculate now because I don't have my calculator. Where's my calculator? Sad. But okay, yeah, anyways, I don't have my calculator right now. So yeah, it's around there. For skill 3, it's a very cool time effect skill. It allows her to slow her enemies down in a huge range. She can strike down the enemies, everyone in her range, the expanded range that is, and she does a very big damage pool. It's actual high AoE damage where everyone in her expanded range will get the attack. And it becomes a thing where Mostima looks like a arch damage version of Silver Ash. The downside to Mostima, however, is that her ASPD is very low. Like, she attacks once every 3 seconds, even with her skill up on skill 3. So that makes it a thing where she can only sweep people by 10 times, or is it less than 10 times? Like, she'll only do 10 strikes, while Silver Ash is doing like 15 to... While Silver Ash is doing like almost 20 strikes in his attack. So it's that trade-off there where Mostima with her 120 SP skill, she only does about 10 strikes of her AoE damage, but it's good to sweep away like smaller mobs with low resistance or even mid-tier mobs. I feel like Mostima is a bit of a forgotten operator. Many people do not appreciate her simply because of the low ASPD, and they do find it difficult to use her since the AoE power that she does is not very high. Some people may even argue that Aya Fiala is a better AoE power than Mostima, but then again, I will not bash Mostima down all the way that low since her skill tree is honestly pretty good. And if you know how to balance her skill 2 with your squad, it's gonna be interesting. But that goes to say that you need to learn how to make her work for you. So Mostima is not exactly the easiest operator to pick up within the game. Hoshiguma is very simple, it's just defenders. Straight logic is not going to be all too bad. But she's also not the craziest of attacking operators. She's great for defense, not attack. And it depends whether you really want that defense viability within your own account. So now that we are pitting Hoshiguma against Mostima, I'm gonna have to say that my verdict is that I don't think one is better than the other. I think they are about the same with each other. They can have completely different classes, but even when playing different roles, the amount of contribution they do are kind of about the same. So yes, my say here is that I have no opinion for them. Alright. Wow, what a battle! It's like the fan-made version of a couple that I'm putting together here. It's Tons and Surtur that we're going for this time. So Tons has his insane skill tree, right? The skill tree where the first time you activate it, he'll increase his range, he'll increase his attack, and he'll also increase his ASPD. And he does attack really quickly. His talent allows him to apply arts damage per second on top of his physical damage, which allows you to kill the enemies faster in this case. You should not mistake him as an arts guard. He's not an arts guard, but he does have the nice little poison addition that makes him a little bit like an arts guard. So that's where the Tons Insanity part comes in. A very versatile operator. He can shoot the ground, he can shoot the air. Such an easy operator to really play around with. He does make a lot of the story stages and even event stages very simple to play. So if you wanna own him, I believe you're gonna have a lot of fun to have him in your account. But now, Tons' opponent is Surtur. Surtur has a jacked-ass powerful skill tree. Skill tree is that one skill where you see that it's the boss killing skill. The reason why she's so insane as an operator has to do with her talent. That's the first part. Her talent allows her to ignore 20% resistance. So meaning to say if an enemy has 50 resistance, they will be seen as a 30 resistance enemy by Surtur alone. That means that against high resistance enemy, Surtur is kind of dealing like this additional 20% attack onto them. It's not additional, but I'm gonna say it that way, whereby she forgoes their resistance basically, and that 20% topped up power is just killer. It helped to wipe off enemies so easily, which is why you see things like Patriot getting soloed by Surtur in phase 1, although needing a few deployments to make it work. Surtur as well has a very strong talent, which is if let's say she drops all the way to 0 HP, it's gonna take a certain amount of time before she can be retreated. So if you have a regular Surtur at E2, I believe it takes about 5 seconds, and then Surtur will retreat herself, also refunding the deployment points if you never knew that. When pairing her talents together with her skill tree, that makes her skill tree super powerful. Skill tree replenishes all her health, it increases her max HP by an insane lot, it increases her attack as well, and the number of targets that she hits is higher, the range that she hits is extended, and this becomes that effect of, Surtur grinding down whoever that's within her range. It's such an insane boss killer, it's an insane mob killer, and she is a very popular operator to pick whenever I make my no-brain guides. There are times that she does make a stage way too simple, she's the best 6-star to borrow within there. So, when you compare between these two, I gotta say, it's so unfair. Like, Tons is so powerful, he can also be part of my no-brain guides, but well, let me think this through. Honestly, they're so powerful that I'm very tempted to say Selector is better than Taunts. But then again, if you are wanting to clear general content, you don't really need a Selector everywhere, right? In normal stages where there isn't a boss involved, yes, Selector can wipe away the mobs, but she won't be on the field forever for you. You use her once, you gotta wait up for a redeployment all over again, wait for 60 seconds and then you deploy her for the next use. Taunts is always there for you. Taunts sit there at the blue box waiting for the next enemy to get in his range and then he'll just sweep them away. So in fact, both have very great uses. One is massive killing, the other one is just very big killing, not as comparable to the other, but he stays on the ground at least much longer. So honestly, with the amount of busterness they both have, I like them both. I think they're about the same. Now the next two to compare are probably on fairer grounds this time, the both physical damage dealers, one being a sniper and the other one being a guard. So Axia is one of the OG or original snipers in the game. As soon as the game started, she was there together with us. She's a very good anti-air sniper. She doesn't have skills that insanely increases attack. In fact, the highest attack increase that she gets is on skill 1. Skill 2 and 3 doesn't raise her attack amount, but it allows her to shoot more at once. So skill 1 allows her to attack 3 times in a row, skill 2 allows her to attack 4 times in a row, and skill 3 allows her to attack 5 times in a row. And I think there's a little bit of buffs here and there, where skill 3 there's like the minor attack interval reduction, that kind of thing, along with each of her shot having an increased attack. Skill 2 also with each of her shot having an increased attack as well. So those are very nice little additions for her. She is a really good mob terror. Like, if let's say the enemy has a low defense or a mid-tier defense, Axia can really grind them down. Once that skill 3 turns on, she's a Gatling gun, she just fires them away, they disappear. Even if, let's say, she's attacking a high defense enemy, you just put a bunch of buffers and debuffers, Axia skill 3 turn on, it's still gonna get the enemies to disappear. So Axia is a pretty damn good boss killer. I believe a bunch of you may have even used her during the WDEX8, if you figure out how to actually put her to use. Whereas for Blaze, Blaze has a wonderful talent first off the start, where if let's say she falls below 50% HP, she's gonna regain her health and have immunity for a certain amount of time, which is nice. It can be handy when you really need it in critical moments. And at the same time, I mean, her other talent has status resistance, not too important, but her skills. Her skill 2 is the bread and butter, is the one that most people will be using. Skill 2 is an infinite duration skill, where once it's charged up and is ready to go, her attack will increase by quite an amount and her defense will increase as well. So she becomes like a semi-defender with a massive AoE physical dealing power. The nice little thing about her skill 2 as well is that there's this 1 tile range increase, and when you put that to use, you're allowed to create this thing like split lane as a strategy. What I mean by split lane is that you can place Blaze in one lane, you face her to the left or up wherever there is. Basically, you face her towards the other lane. When her skill charge up and is turned on, she, with that extra tile, she's able to grind people in her lane and the lane on the other side. So that becomes a very nice thing to use, where she can double up and deal the very good AoE power. And the great thing about Blaze as an AoE guard as well is that when you have her at E2, she's able to block 3 people this time. So I will have to put that when we put Axia against Blaze, while Axia is very strong and great at boss killing, especially the boss have very low defense, but Blaze does make a lot of content in the game easier to handle. Since Blaze is able to block people, unlike Axia, and Blaze is this massive AoE powerhouse that basically stays on the ground, she helps with a lot of things like Trust Farm, she helps to clear some of the earlier contents in the game, actually even the later content she can help a lot as well. So in terms of impact, I really have to say that Blaze will probably do more than Axia for people's account. But that doesn't go to say that Axia is not a good operator. Axia is insanely strong. She's still one of the greatest 6 stars in the game, just that if you match her up with other people, there may be this thing where people will recommend Blaze over Axia, for instance. So let's choose Blaze this time. Alright, Weedy and Siege. Okay, Weedy and Siege is an interesting one. So Siege is a Vanguard and Weedy is a Specialist, right? Siege is this Vanguard where if you use her skill 2, kind of the bread and butter, she basically does this hammer strike down every time her charge skill is ready. So hammer strikes down, the people within her 4 surrounding tile range, so in front, her sides and behind her, will get a big AoE attack. And it's kind of AoE, so everyone within those 4 tiles range will get the hit. She's able to block too, which is nice of a Vanguard, and she's got decent defense as a Vanguard as well. Weedy Have I did a Weedy comparison just now? I think I did, didn't I? I hope I did, but I've spoken enough about Weedy about how she does true damage in the skill tree, and the fact that the skill 2 is very applicable for like CCs or even some of the basic stages where you can push the smaller mobs. If I look between the two, however, if we speak in terms of CC context and clearing stage context and just the amount of craziness and specialty that people do, I wouldn't say that Siege does a lot more than Weedy. Weedy has skills 1, 2, and 3 that's very applicable everywhere. Siege has skill 2. Skill 3 can be great as well because it's the stunning skill. You know, she throws down her hammer, she smacks the person and they get stunned and they receive... it's a percentage chance to stun, it's not 100%, but still they get a nice stun, they get a great attack amount in their face. But not a lot of people use skill 3. You need to know why you're using skill 3 before you actually choose that skill. I will have to put that in terms of how much these two operators will help the account, Weedy is probably going to help people's account more than Siege does. Since Weedy is a very big pushing powerhouse, Siege is great if let's say you want to put her as like the earliest Vanguard to wipe out the first few starting mobs. But you don't really need it. There's a lot of other Vanguards that can kind of temporarily put over that role, and I feel sad for Siege. A lot of people are using Saga more than Siege nowadays. It's depressing, right? Siege, why is Siege abandoned even though there's Saga? I know Saga seems insanely strong, but yeah, there comes the problem. If there was a Saga and Siege comparison here, I will be in a headache. Like, I hate to compare those two, but when the day comes, we will have to take that note that, you know, Saga is doing something a little more special than Siege, which is kind of why I have to say that Weedy is the better choice here. Okay, Chen and Siege. Honestly speaking, they have about the same utility, I would say. I wouldn't say one outclasses the other. I think they're about the same. To be fair, I've already spoken about both their kits, so I'm gonna have to say that I like them both. Okay, Silver Ash and Kyobi. Oh, I mean, now this is again an unfair one. One is an AoE powerhouse and the other one is a single target caster that does this massive striking down on one person. Kyobi is great when you want to focus on one person to take out as much health as possible, especially if they have low resistance or mid resistance. But Silver Ash is, you know, swing and everything disappears. And I didn't mention certain things about Silver Ash just now. He also has this talent where he's able to reveal invisibility, which gets very feisty if actually you find stages that you really can put that to use. The only other person in the game that can reveal invisibility is, I believe it's Sin. Sin, her drones can reveal invisibility. Tsukinogi can also reveal invisibility, but she's not very often used. And that's like a plus point of Silver Ash. A very popularly used 6-star, and being someone that you bring around very often, you can make use of the invisibility trait if you see the situation that calls for it. Elysium also can reveal invisibility, by the way, but yeah, that's also someone that you might bring along very often. He does have another second talent which reduces redeployment time, so that helps a lot for fast redeploys and even regular operators if you want to throw them everywhere. Like if you want to deploy Chen faster and use her skill 2 everywhere she goes, then yes, pairing her with Silver Ash can be a very sweet option. So that's the plus point of his talents. Hyobi also does have a wonderful talent, whereby if you put her alone and no one is within her 4 surrounding tiles, she'll gain an increased attack and also increase ASPD. Like she hates when people stand nearby to her. So that helps to buff her quite a bit if you're able to put her talent to good use. But now, again, if I compare the two, even with the talent stacked on top of their skills, Silver Ash does a lot of crazy, like Silver Ash does crazy lot as compared to Kyobi. So we're gonna have to choose Silver Ash in this case. Bagpipe and Kyobi. I mean, in this case, it depends. I really have to say there's no opinion because for some of you, you may really need arts damage a lot right now. And you may be saying, I'm tired of using a 4-star caster and a 5-star caster, so I really want a Kyobi. In that case, you should go ahead and get a Kyobi. While some of you may say, I actually got a lot of arts damage, but I need physical. So Bagpipe might become a good choice. And Bagpipe could also become a good choice because a lot of people own Myrtle. If you don't have a Myrtle, try to get her via Vanguard recruitment or Vanguard healing when you see those tags. When you pair Bagpipe with Myrtle, it becomes a thing where, because Bagpipe is able to feed initial SP to Vanguards, you can charge up your flag bearers really quickly, and then they gain the SP fast. It helps you with early deployment in the stage. Bagpipe and Myrtle or Bagpipe and Elysian are very crazy pairings to put together. So if I put these two side by side, I I kind of wanted to choose Bagpipe over QB, but I really think this comes down to who is within your account to decide which one might be a better choice for you. So I have to say, I don't have an opinion. I think they're about the same. They're both crazy in their own respects. Alright, the next two operators. Oh, there's a Suzerain here now, and we haven't seen the Suzerain just now, so I gotta talk about a kid then. So this is Ifrit against Suzerain. Suzerain is a slower supporter herself. She is at the same time also a debuffer. So why she's considered a debuffer is because of her talent. Her talent states that if people are slowed by her, they will receive Fragile. So Fragile allows people who are slowed to receive 30% more damage. It's not 30% more damage by her, but it's 30% more damage by everyone that's attacking them. So it's a very, very nice debuff skill that she got going on there. She does have a nice other talent as well, which is for allies that are supporters, they will also gain an improved SP recovery plus 0.4 SP per second. And that's very sweet when paired together with all the supporters, of course, just like how Mostima is good with the other casters. Then again though, the skills are kind of where she's at. For her skill 2, she's able to slow multiple targets at once. If you have her at least Mastery 1, she's able to slow down 3 targets, which is a lot of people. And it's an infinite duration skill as well. If let's say you have a situation where there are small mobs that are going to walk within her range, with the increased attack that she has and the number of targets she can slow, she may be someone that can kill small mobs super easily. But even if it's not for killing purposes, with the ability of her to slow 3 people, it can help your squad to lower the burden and take out the enemies much more easily. So that's that for her skill 2. I like her skill 2, but I find that her skill 2 is not popular enough. Most people only look towards her for her skill 3, whereby her skill 3 is a massive slow. Like, it's almost to a point where it looks as if when the enemies walk into a range, they're gonna get frozen. They're still walking, but they just walk insanely slowly. So what happens is that her range will increase, and then the amount of damage amplification that the enemies already receive, that is increased. So if they take a certain amount of damage earlier, they take even more damage now from your allies. And at the same time, they get this massive slow for like 30 seconds, or if not, it's 25 seconds. I can't remember the skill uptime, but it's very, very long. And with that trait, it allows you to slow so many enemies within this one tile. It synergizes so well with other operators so that they can deal more damage onto the enemies basically. She is one of the strongest, slowest, and debuffers together in the game. So with that, when you put Ifrit against Suzerain, I have to say that it's not that there's no contest. You cannot contest the two of them. They're both debuffers in their respect and they both deal very high damage. One is a full-on AoE arts damage powerhouse, although the demerit is that it's one single lane, can be a good thing or a bad thing. And then Suzerain is not exactly an insane arts damage powerhouse, but that amount of slow and debuff that she gives, she really brings the support for the team. So these two roles that they play are super strong for anybody's squad. And that goes to say that I cannot say that one is better than the other. So I will say I like them both. Alright, AF Fiela and Nightingale. Well, it becomes the same problem as AF Fiela and Shining, right? I think there was AA and Shining just now, so yeah, if you put a damage dealing operator against a medic, I gotta say that the damage dealing one is better, so AF Fiela here. A Shining and Nightingale. And there's not really a difference here. One bars defense, one's bars resistance. It depends on the stage, right? Some stages works well when you have an increase in defense on your allies. Some stages work well when you have an increase in resistance on your allies. So there's not really a difference. I'm gonna have to say no opinion. Blemishan and Saria. This is the first time I'm seeing Saria here. Holy damn. Okay, Saria, skill 1, skill 2, skill 3. She's classically known as a M9 operator. Reason being, all her 3 skills are super powerful. Skill 1 is a 4 SP skill, if you have it at M3 that is. So only at M3 her skill is 4 SP, at M1 is still going to be 5 SP but it's 3 charges. Every time an ally falls below 50% health, whether it's herself or someone in her range, she's going to heal them for a massive amount of health. It's basically a huge percentage of her own attack. Her second skill is an actual AoE healing skill. For some reason, Saria looks like a better AoE medic than some of the AoE medics, although the SP time is a little bit long. If you have it at rank 7 to M2, it's going to be 8 SP to charge. If you have it at M3, it's going to be 7 SP to charge. And whenever she heals people, she'll heal everyone within this nice little like mega plus sign range. So that's very, very sweet to use. Skill 2 is what people often call as the general stage using skill, while skill 1 and skill 3 are more often the CC or like the super toughest stage in the game kind of skill. Skill 3 is an awesome skill to use. It's basically an arch damage buffing skill. She will stop attacking, and within a wide range, she'll slow all the enemies down, and all the enemies within this slow range will receive a certain amount of arch damage even more. So movement speed down, arch damage taken increases. And once you pair her together with other strong arch damage dealers like Ifrit, Aya, KOB, they will deal massive amount of damage to the enemies. So Zarya is honestly a sweet defender to use. If I compare her together with Blemish Shine, for the fact that Zarya has so much utility that it brings, and you don't need to have that defensive recovery thing, you know, to heal someone. Zarya is always healing people, apart from skill 3 where you must activate the skill to make it work. So with that being said, Zarya honestly brings more to the table than Blemish Shine. And I gotta also credit on Zarya's talent there. For every 20 seconds that you keep Zarya on the field, her attack will increase and her defense will increase. So when the attack increases, it means that each time she's also going to heal slightly more and more for her allies that's around her. So really it goes to show that Zarya is one of the strongest operators within the game. Blemish Shine is also very strong, but yes, these two defenders side by side, I gotta say that Zarya does better than Blemish Shine, so let's choose Zarya. Schwartz and Angelina. You can't really compare these two. It's a little hard. I know one is AoE powerhouse, the other one is single target, but they both deal crazy monstrous damage. Sad to say, I honestly cannot compare these two. I feel like there might be an equal number of stages that bringing Schwartz is a good idea and an equal number of stages that bring Angelina is a good idea. So, no contest, Ethan, I like both. Helga and Eunectus. Man, they're both hard to use. They're both hard to use, but okay, I gotta credit this on Eunectus that I didn't mention probably just now. Eunectus has one of the highest base attack in the game. By base attack, I mean, I did mention just now, she's a duelist defender, right? She's very high attack, she only blocks one person. But when you have her at E2 and up to a certain level, I think it's like 40 or 50, she already holds 1000 attack onto the enemies. And 1000 attack per hit is honestly a lot. So, despite her having one block, but Helga also has one block and is ASPD down. The difficulty of the two of them is Helga is a juggle of his health. Eunectus is a juggle of her SP and trying to manage it so that she can activate her skill 2 or 3 as fast as she can. So, in terms of the challenge of use and how much they bring to the table, to me, I think Eunectus does more than Helga in this case. So, I'm gonna say that both are strong operators, a little bit of the difficult to use, but Eunectus might have an edge here compared to Helga. So, Eunectus is my choice. Hoshiguma and Megalan. Oh, this is the first time I'm seeing Megalan also. Megalan is a summoner, right? Megalan is a summoner that sometimes people can say it's worthy to M9 her. She has a powerful skill 1, which allows you to slow the enemies down, so long as they are within her range or they're within her drone's range. If you use a skill 2, she's able to deploy drones on melee tiles, and whenever enemies stand underneath or walk past it, they'll receive arch damage from it. And then for skill 3, it's an AoE physical drone. So the drone will have like a Schwartz-like range, and then they'll blow it down, they'll deal physical damage, and it's a mini AoE range. So all in all, the 3 skills all have their reasons to be used, they all have their great timings to be used. The downside to Megalan being a summoner is that she is one of the summoners that do not have a block count per se. Her summons are not ground units that can place like Scene or Mayor. They are often just in the air. You need to be able to get used to the fact that you're trying to deal damage to the enemies as much as possible, and then maybe have your allies to defend so that the enemies are maintained within Megalan's drone's range. There is a lot of high physical powers within the skill 2 of Megalan, and skill 1 is one of the best, and skill 1 is a very, very good slowing skill in the game as well. The fact that it's a drone deployment, it makes Megalan quite versatile. You can plonk it anywhere and put it to use. However, on top of the drones plonking everywhere, is that the drones take up deployment limit. So if you want to use up Megalan and her drones, you end up using 4 deployment limit, right? For her and her 3 drones. Then you're left with like 4 or 5 other slots left to use for the other operators, which makes it very disadvantageous. Megalan will become a bit of a struggle in terms of a learning curve. You really need to pick up how to juggle your deployment limit and know where to place the tiles to maximize the efficiency of Megalan. So it becomes this thing where Hoshiguma is great as a defender, Magalan is great as a strong attacking supporter, but there is the learning curve for Magalan, there's not really a learning curve for Hoshiguma. Would I say that they do about the same thing, or would I recommend one over the other? If you want to have fun, you want to give yourself a challenge, you want to give yourself that learning experience in your game, Magalan is honestly a great operator, because for me, Magalan was one of my first E2s. I enjoyed her kit because she reminds me of actual tower defense games. Like, you summon your drones, it's like planting a tower there and then shooting down the enemies. But I do agree I had a hard time to learn her and get used to the fact that she takes up deployment limit. But even so, Hoshiguma is amazing at defense, but not exactly in terms of the attacking side of things. I'm probably gonna put that I don't think there's a difference in the two. I think actually they're about the same. I don't think one is better than the other. So to me, it's a no opinion. Hoshiguma wins here in terms of how easy it is to pick her up, while Magalan wins here because she's honestly a very strong operator. Just that learning her is going to be a little bit of the challenge. It can be fun for some of you or annoying for others of you. So that's why it's a no opinion status here. Alright, Blaze and Taunts. Oh my goodness, Blaze and Taunts caused a little bit of a havoc within my own Discord server because it got a lot of people discussing which one is better and which one is not. So I think it's now time for me to voice my opinion as to these two operators. Can you compare these two operators? I don't think there is necessarily a point where you can't compare. Blaze is an AoE card, Taunts is a single target range card. Taunts has increased ASVD and increased attack. But if we look at the instances where you can use Taunts and the instances where you can use Blaze, to be fair, Taunts appears so much more than Blaze nowadays. It doesn't mean that Blaze doesn't cheese content as much as Taunts anymore. Actually, it may mean that case. But Blaze is very good to clear a lot of content, and Taunts is very good to clear a lot of content as well. In fact, actually, one of my biggest joys is to bring both Blaze and Taunts into the same stage. No doubt Taunts has this bigger plus power where he can attack drone enemies, so things that are aerial, Taunts is able to strike them down. Whereas Blaze can't really do that. Taunts can do split lane strategies, but the problem is he can only attack one. While Blaze can be the AoE person, you have her there, maybe you have her to cross over to the other lane, have a defender, and then she's able to grind double lanes at once. Taunts could do double lane, but he might get overwhelmed instead. So, is there a person that I feel may do better than the other? To be honest, I don't think it's a stalemate. I have to say that Taunts does this slight bit better than Blaze. If I look at my no-brain guides, right, often I try to bring only one 6-star to complete my guides. Taunts is a simpler pick for me compared to Blaze. If let's say there's a stage that's full of AoE nonsense, which is reminding you of things like OD8 or ODEX8, that's where Blaze comes really in handy. And that's also when Taunts falter, because with all those slugs coming out, Taunts cannot strike them all down at once. He doesn't attack fast enough to catch up with the number of slugs. But Blaze, on the other hand, she could actually catch up with the number of slugs, which makes Blaze even more powerful. So it's situational on the two of them, but if I weigh across the number of situations where they look good, Taunts, honestly, very, very slightly wins over Blaze. It's not, I cannot say that it's the same. It's just ever so slight that Taunts does better, and that's kind of why I'll have to pick Taunts over Blaze in this case. So that's that. Silver Ash and Weedy. Silver Ash does more than Weedy. I mean, yes, Weedy has a fun kit and whatsoever, but honestly, Silver Ash will help a lot of people way more. Bagpipe and Weedy. I'm gonna say Bagpipe will help people more because Weedy has a tougher learning curve than Bagpipe, since Weedy is getting used to understanding how her skill 2 works against the smaller mobs and the lower weight mobs. Skill 3 needs you to get use of the cannon pushing, how you utilize her and her cannon to maximize the push and then give that true damage to people. Bagpipe is a bit more straightforward. Skill 3, kind of plonk it down, let her go big smacking and she does big damage. She's able to wipe out people with mid-tier or maybe even high defense as well. So that's why I have to put that Bagpipe is probably an easier pick than Weedy. So let's choose her. Skadi and Weedy. Oh my god. How do I compare between these two? I mean, there's the whole argument where I may not choose Skadi because Scouter exists, so you may end up using Skadi less, but honestly speaking, across the board, Weedy will tend to appear way more than Skadi does. Weedy is still a little bit like an AoE pusher at the end of the day for her skill 2, and her skill 3 is also able to do the massive push. Skadi only focuses on 1, right? And sometimes in order to make Skadi look very powerful, she often needs to be paired with a buffer or debuffer. So it's a bit of a sad news, but I'm gonna have to say that Weedy will do better than Skadi in this case. So let's choose Weedy. Skadi and Chen. Can I compare these two? Oh, this is tough. Chen has a talent whereby for people who does offensive recovery, they'll gain 1 SP every 4 seconds, which makes her a little bit on the sweeter side. Whereas Skadi increases the attack of Abyssal Hunters, which means she only helps her own faction. Man, this is a little on the tough side, but I gotta say that I think Chen will be a more fluid operator for people to get used to compared to Skadi. So I'm gonna have to pick Chen here. Airfiller and Ifrit. I mean, Ifrit is straight range, Airfiller is massive range. It's not a bad idea to pair the two of them together. You use resistance debuff, Air Volcano, and then boom, everything disappears, right? Ifrit and Airfiller in the stage together is honestly an atomic bomb, but I will say that Airfiller will most certainly help people more than Ifrit, since skill 2 is still a viable skill. Ifrit skill 2 is very strong as well, right? Multi-lane, powerhouse, but Airfiller tends to help people to clear things much faster, so Airfiller takes the cake. Shining and Ifrit. Schwartz and Saria. To be fair, Saria honestly helps people way more, but Schwartz is also this massive, like, physical dealing damage that goes on. Actually, I can't really compare both. I know Saria has a very long CC standing. She almost appears in every single CC and every single CC's max risk even. But if I put that CC standing away from that comparison, to be fair, they're both fun operators to add. Some of you might better benefit from a Schwartz because she's a heavy damage dealer as compared to a Saria. But then again, some of you may also benefit from Saria because you're lacking on the healing side and you've been wanting a strong healing defender or even a strong healer if you see Saria as a healer. So, can I put a position on either one? I probably have to apologize. I don't think I can put it on anyone. I like both. I don't think I want to rank one higher than the other. Eunectus and Blemishine. Blemishine will probably do more for people because Blemishine at least has the block tree. The sleep skill is something that I think people will get used to. And Blemishine complements a lot of other people with her defensive recovery talent as well. So Blemishine, in terms of utility and the amount of support she gives to the entire squad, she's probably better. Eunectus is more of a soloist kind of thing. She does her own thing. She's magical in her own ways. So I will have to pick Blemmy. Yep. Eunectus and Rosa. I think they're about the same level of difficulty and the amount of same level of insaneness. One's a great boss killer. One is a great multi-target killer. Yeah. Can I really put one over the other? Let me think. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that. I think there isn't one that goes above the other. The pros and cons, there's like about the same equal amount. One person pros is the other person's cons, one person's con is the other person's pro, that kind of thing. So, no opinion. I don't think one is better than the other. Taunts and Hoshiguma. Taunts. Blaze and Hoshiguma. Blaze. Exia and Hoshiguma? Sorry, Hoshiguma, but Exia. AF Yellow and Silver Ash. You cannot. One is like one of the highest-ish arts dealer. The other one is one of the bestest-ish physical dealer. So there is no standing to say one person is better than the other. I'm gonna have to really put that both are wonderful. Ifrit and Bagpipe. Bagpipe probably helps better in this case. I know Ifrit is crazy, but again, getting used to the high DP cost and everything, since most people have Myrtle, I honestly think Bagpipe is going to be a great synergy for most people, so Bagpipe in this case. Ifrit and Weedy. I don't really have an opinion with these two. I think they're just about as good. really strong, really insane, and Ifrit is also great with the resistance cutting and shredding. So, sorry, I can't put the placement here. I like them both. Shining and Chen. Shining and Skadi. Oh my god. I feel bad if I rate Skadi down. Can I rate that? Man, I cannot say that Skadi won't help people's account because Skadi is a damage dealer and a very high damage dealer at the end of the day. The malfunctioning part is that she doesn't have any defense down and like defense minus percentage kind of thing. Man, Shining on the other hand offers a lot of that defense increase. Defense increase is kind of the nice... No, I cannot say it's nicer. Resistance increase is equally as good. I honestly feel... I'm sorry, Skadi lovers. I know you're kiaing at me right now, but I find that Shining is gonna feed people a lot more as the game progresses. A lot of you are gonna get scouted anyway, so if you're gonna not like me for Skadi, I mean, the terrible excuse is that scouter exists, but like, I really think that Shining places more in a person's account than Skadi, so that's why I'll pick Shining. Ark and Skadi. I mean, I know Ark is great and a buffer and all, but like, because of the difficulty to learn Ark, actually, I don't think I can rank the two. I may even go to the extent to say Ark is crazier than Skadi because if let's say you have a very stacked account, then you're gonna benefit from the Ark. You're gonna benefit from owning a buffer after so long. Whereas Skadi, I fear that you build her, and if you don't actually care about her enough, you chuck her to one side. So... Man, this hurts. This hurts so much. And I bear to put Ark up. I'm sorry, Skadi lovers, but this will be my own opinion. Please don't witch hunt me. I'm gonna place Ark over Skadi. This hurts me as much as it hurts you. Maybe it hurts you more, but yes, I'm gonna put Ark. Taunts and Schwartz. Taunts. Blaze and Schwartz. To be honest, Blaze. Exia and Schwartz. Honestly, Schwartz is even crazier than Exia. Actually, no, they might do about the same. Schwartz has a much bigger insane attack power, but Exia with the freaking Gatling gun, when you pair her with like a Warframe and a debuffer, she also becomes very insane. I don't think I can put a position. I like them both. Hoshiguma and Blemishine. Blemishine will help more. Hoshiguma and Eunectus. Honestly, Eunectus will help more. To me, Eunectus will help more than Hoshiguma since Eunectus has that big defense up and also attack up that goes on. So she might be a neater one to go for. Hoshiguma and Helliger. Helliger might be sweeter since Helliger is at least able to sustain his own self. Hoshiguma is also able to sustain her own self, but wait a minute. But Hoshiguma has the wonderful skill tree as well. That becomes the problem. Yeah, okay, no, I think they're about the same. I like them both. Taunts and Airfieler. Is there a way to rank them? I think they're both equally as crazy though, don't you think? Airfieler, arts damage, overpoweredness. Taunts, great mob killer. Whether big mob, small mob, medium mob, Taunts does his thing. Except he only hits one at a time. I think they're about the same. If not, there's just this sub little bit of part. I know I said that Taunts and Blaze is like, Taunts is a little bit better than Blaze. But that was because we were comparing like double physical damage dealers. But even if that little bit is being put here, I feel like the little bit is even smaller between Taunts and Airfieler. So honestly, I feel that they're about the same. Blaze and Bagpipe. Blaze. Exia and Bagpipe. Oh no, that's not easy. Both are great. I like them both. Let me shine an Ifrit. Oh, but both have their own difficulties to be used. How do I sort one over the other? Huh? Can I actually sort one over the other? I don't think so. This one now feels super situational as to why you will want the two of them. They're both great. If you don't own both of them, you may be in the pickle of choosing one of the two. For me, I'll have choose Ifrit, but that's bias now. This time it's bias because I feel that it's fair to say that they do maybe just about the same level of utility. So no, I don't have an opinion towards the two of them. Eunectus and Chen. Man, can I really saw these two? I'm gonna put that I don't have an opinion. I don't think one is better than the other. Both have plus and minuses that almost balances out. So yeah, no opinions. Hoshiguma and Shining. I mean, I'd rather you own the Defender, I guess. So yeah, Hoshiguma. Oh, we've got it sorted out. Alright, I cleared the list. We can take a look at everything now. So wait, should I zoom out? Oh, it's gonna look too small if I zoom out. So I'm gonna zoom in on behalf of you guys. So this is the list of operators after the entire sorting is done. At rank 1, we have Thorn, Surtur, Airfiller, and Silver Ash. Yeah, most certainly, they're one of the strongest and the bestest pick. Blaze comes in 5th, but honestly, she almost can deserve the 1st place as well. She's very, very strong as an operator. She's gonna help a lot of people, make a lot of your accounts wonderful. So I have to say that it's kind of that. If only there's a little bit more into Blaze that makes us put her up there with the rest, but yes, Thorn, Surtur, Air, Silver Ash, they are usually my no-brain 6-star operators to choose, because honestly they make things simpler. That's why they received the 1st place. So 5th is Blaze, 6th place has a lot of people. There's Exia, Schwartz, Angelina, Saria, Backpipe, KOB, and yeah, I think it's kind of agreeable that it's all of these people. They are very, very strong operators to own, they're very great people to use and add into your account. Afterwards, the next tier we've got Blemishine, Ifrit, Phantom, Suzerain, BD. And I do think that they're about the same. I don't think there's a diesel that need to shift them up or shift them down. Shifting them down is really undermining their kit. Shifting them up is... it makes them sound really up there and powerful, but there's just that little bit of them that pulls them down there. So yeah, I think it's fine and fair that, you know, these are the 6th place and these are the 12th place. Afterwards, when we go down, we've got the 17th place. So there's Eunectus, Rosa, Chen, and Siege. I think it's not all too bad. Although Siege, I actually kind of felt that my Siege would have been a little bit lower, which is a little odd. And the Chen could have been a little bit lower as well. But I guess it's because I rated Eunectus and Chen to be the same. That's why they're up there. But okay, Eunectus and Rosa is on the high up pedestal, which is kind of what I would think to them. And then Chen is followed by Siege. And then there's Hoshiguma, Ostima, Magalan, and Helliger sharing the same position as well. And then we go with Shining and Nightingale, followed by Ark and Skadi. And that's the entire position and ranking that I have placed after this entire assortment. I don't know if you guys agree with this. I find it generally okay. Maybe if I do this a second time, the positions might change a little bit more. But I think this is decent enough to follow through. So I hope that you guys enjoy this particular video. Maybe this sorting list will help you to decide better as to which 6-star you might want to get. And if not, I hope you guys enjoy the event of Arknights. Tell me about how you feel soon to come. Do watch me on my next few videos and my next few streams. And if not, may you have a great time. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.